Call to order the regular meeting of Monday, August 26, 2024 at 2 p.m. for Stokes County Board of Commissioners meeting. At this time, I would ask us all to stand, and Commissioner Wood is going to give the invocation.
Precious Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for giving us a safe trip here. Watch over, guide us, and give us wisdom to make decisions for the county. Be with the Tuttle and Rogers family and others that have lost loved ones. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda, well, first of all, I guess we need to, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, today's agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. First public hearing is on the 2025 reevaluation schedule of values. The purpose of today's public hearing is to give taxpayers an opportunity to ask questions or address concerns relating to the proposed 2025 reevaluation schedule, standards, and rules to be used in appraising real property in Stokes County. So I do have a question. I've got 3 people signed up on the sheet for the reevaluation schedule. But I want to make sure that you actually want to get on the public comment section, and that would be Rick McCraw, Robert Knight, and Donnell Leeds from Walnut Cove. Y'all want to talk about the reevaluation, or do you want to talk on the regular public comment section? You too, sir? Yes. Okay. All right. So at this time, if there's no one in the audience that wants to speak on the reevaluation, I'm going to close the public hearing at 2:04 p.m. Now we'll go to public comments. And sir, if you want to come up and start, you get 4 minutes.
Oh, I don't need 4 minutes. I'm only young. I haven't been to a meeting before. I live over on Greenfield Road. I came from New Jersey, so my taxes are so much higher there. My concern is just when I've already had 3 reevaluations. I've only been here 10 years. I got an initial one, then I had 2 more after that. Speaking with my neighbors, they said they haven't been reevaluated. So I realized that you're gonna have these things. And like I said, because I was paying so much taxes in Jersey, it don't mean that much. It means something to me, but not what I was paying. When the value of my house goes up, is the tax rate going to go down? Do you foresee that happening? Or am I going to get nailed? My house goes up $30,000 with the same tax rate as we're paying now. I just know up north that's how it happened. When they reevaluated everybody, the tax rate would come down. So, and that's really all my concern is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under the public comment, if next up is Rick McCraw.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's nice to have somebody come up here and not complain about your tax rate. I'm here today just to speak and ask you to vote in favor of allowing the school board to apply for the grant this year. Really appreciate what you do for the county and also for the city of King. So I want to thank you for the job and hope that you will vote in favor of allowing the school board to apply for the grant. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Rick. Next up is Robert Knight.
Robert Knight, 1220 Hovey Moore Road. With over
half our county's property taxes going to Stokes County schools, the commissioners did the right thing requesting a strategic plan, long-range plan, especially after the school board presented their $90 million request a few years ago on top of their regular budget. The school board came back with an unaffordable wish list. During their planning process, they discovered they could apply for this grant. Only after Masonboro had this in their plan. You know, Masonboro, the consolidation specialist group that several members of the school board has mocked, criticized, misquoted, and said they don't know what they're doing. So the plan the school board was asked to complete was put on the back burner, and they laser focused on a pet project, replacing King Elementary. Chairman Von Robertson made this his new goal in life, I guess, and will do and say anything to get it approved. If it means misleading the public, the commissioners, school employees, and other school board members. My relationship with Vaughn began when he ran for school board in 2020, and I helped with his campaign. It didn't take long after being elected to see his dishonest tactics mobilized. When Vaughn's campaign manager came up with Project Help, it gained a lot of support in Stokes County and beyond. It was an attempt to help with the drug issue with students. After the primary, when I asked Vaughn about starting on the plan, he said, "Oh, we don't need to do that now. That was just for the election." I couldn't believe it. This was my first experience of a politician saying whatever it took to get elected. Another example of this was on their handouts, "Save our schools," and "We won't decide votes in secret," all in big bold letters. I point all these dishonest strategies out to show there's a history, and it's carried over to the consolidation plan that he first mentioned to me in 2021, long before the commissioners brought it up. Vaughn's fake map, showboating at this meeting about a year ago with the grant application by stealing the mic, suppressing other board members' discussion, hiding consolidation discussion in closed session, and attempting to strong-arm individuals is business as usual for him. Unfortunately, the Masonboro report gave us a glimpse of what our school system should look like if the buildings are renovated and we were to operate within the range of the current budget. The school's long-range plan looks nothing like this and costs well beyond what Stokes County can afford. My concern is if the Board of County Commissioners doesn't get the school board to commit to a reasonable plan now, we won't see it till it's forced on us like this last swath of closings. I have no issue with King getting a new school, but it has to be tied to a plan that is within reason. The way I see this playing out currently is Vaughn sees school closings coming, and he wants to get ahead of it to keep his corner of the county from feeling it. Northern Stokes County, South Stokes, and taxpayers across the county should really be concerned about the grant being rubber stamped. Commissioners demand the school board finish what they started. I'm tired of this constant question mark being held over my kids' education and communities, and when will the hatchet drop? What will the trigger be? Thank you.
Appreciate it. At this time, we're closing public comments, and we'll go to comments for manager and commissioners. Commissioner Mendenhall, you would like to start?
Sure. Thank everyone for being here today. I appreciate it. Let's welcome the new member, Ty's firm, for being here. I'm sure we'll be working with you in the future. It's good to have you on board. For everybody else that's here today, thank you for being a part. As you know, the governmental process is so important. You talk about many different things as the election becomes so close. And the United States of America, last time I looked at it, each person had the right to their own opinion. And if everybody agreed on the same thing, it'd be a pretty boring world out there. However, at this point, thank goodness, we do still have the right to express our opinion publicly without disdain or any type of what but I would say people have the right to disagree, however, in a civil manner. And the election is coming up. I know I cannot campaign up here. I'm not campaigning. Mr. Attorney, make sure you put that in the notes. However, just want to say, there is one thing I would encourage everybody here today and everybody in Stokes County. The right to vote is one of our greatest freedoms. To express your opinion privately, go behind the curtain, mark who you like, and that is your way to express how you feel. And I just want to say, everybody that's watching on YouTube, live stream, any other way, thank you for being a part of this meeting today. And to our 3 speakers that spoke today, thank you very much for coming out and speaking. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to also welcome everybody and thank the speakers for sharing their thoughts with us today. I'll address the question from the gentleman from New Jersey on the reducing the tax rate next year. In North Carolina, and the tax collector's back there in case I mess anything up, he can correct it. But the law says that when we do a revaluation, which we do here every 4 years, you have to publish what's called a revenue neutral amount. And what that is that you're required to do that and make that available to the public so they can see how much you would have to reduce taxes for the actual tax amount to stay the same, even though the values have gone up. So that's kind of a transparency thing. That's a good thing to make the taxpayers aware of that, because then the elected officials can't get away with saying they didn't raise taxes when they actually did. So what we'll do, the exercise we'll go through when we get that next year, we'll get the revenue neutral amount. We'll see how many cents we would have to reduce the property tax rate in order to keep the actual tax amount the same. And then we will decide if we want to go all the way down to that level or go some portion of that amount down. And that will depend on what our budget requirements are for the next budget cycle. We'll have to balance all of that, but there are some protections there that are set up to give visibility and to make sure everybody understands that you don't automatically get a tax increase on reval, and the commissioners if you do, then the commissioners did it deliberately. Otherwise, they would reduce the rates. And my guess is we'll make a major effort to reduce the rates next year some amount, especially based on the projections of how much the reval is going to go up. So anyway, that's how the process works, and that's what we'll be doing. On the subject of taxes, if you really want to get concerned about taxes, Kamala Harris's new proposal to tax at 25% unrealized gains is the most unbelievable thing I've ever heard of. I can't imagine doing that or trying to orchestrate the process of doing that. So I'm really conscious of property taxes, but I'm more conscious of stuff like this that could potentially happen to us in November. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wood?
I'd like to welcome everybody also. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. YouTube viewers, I appreciate y'all tuning in. And I hope y'all enjoying this gorgeous weather. You're up.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that's here today and for the public comments and just for those watching at home, and thanks for taking an interest in what we do here. I think Amber's going to talk about a little bit about the DOT project that has 89 still closed. When we get to her, she might have an update. And also be looking for a ribbon cutting coming up when we nail down that for the Board of Elections building, and a groundbreaking ceremony for the courthouse will be coming up shortly, and we're excited about that. And we would like to welcome Ty's new associate as well from Haywood County. Welcome to Stokes County, and we just appreciate y'all being here today. And I would like to say that one thing that we haven't talked about is some things that are happening with the animal shelter, and just to let everybody know those things are being dealt with, and things are I guess not as bad as some might see. That things that were shared on social media, that there is more of an explanation than we have talked about, but I'm sure we can address if we would like Amber to talk about some of the things the steps that are being taken there, because I don't want anybody to think we're not addressing issues that need to be addressed with the animal shelter. And I think there's some appeal process that's going on with that as well. So if you want to elaborate, you can.
I mean, I'll first off by saying that Director Reeves has expressed publicly and privately to anyone that he'd be more than happy to sit down with anyone who has an interest in whether it's taking a tour of the animal shelter, volunteering, or even asking questions about, what you may see, on Facebook or in the news or whatever. He'd be more than happy to sit down and talk about those things. We are addressing some of the things that are going on. I know we did get a disapproved shelter inspection last time, which a lot of shelters, public and private, do from time to time if the inspector shows up on a day that we don't know they're coming and maybe something was off. And they are taking steps to address that and have addressed that. But as far as putting more protocols in place to make sure that type of thing doesn't happen again, that's being done. But like I said, I'll be happy to talk with anybody, more about it if you have questions. And about the DOT that Commissioner Cox talked about, where the road's washed out at 80, where 89 meets Highway 8. I have spoken with the DOT recently, and that is on track, and they're planned to finish that by the end of September, like they had originally planned to do. If there are any other updates or developments, I'll make sure to let everybody know, but they are on track to finish it by the end of September and hopefully have it open by the end of September, and are over 50% completed. With that, I believe they said 60% last time I checked. I did just want to say that county offices will also be closed on September 2nd, so next Monday, in observance of Labor Day.
So you want to make additional comment?
I would like, since the subject came up of the animal shelter, I've dealt with it for years as county manager before I was elected official. To me, it's a heavily regulated area, and in my opinion, it's over-regulated to a large extent. I don't know how anybody could ever meet the regulations that they have in place and pass unannounced inspections all the time. It's just another example of over-regulation from the government, in my humble opinion. I've made several unannounced visits out there, mainly to do some business with those guys over the past 2 or 3 months. I've been out there at least 2 or 3 times. And I've found it to be a very positive experience. The staff working hard, they were friendly, they demonstrated that they cared about what they were doing and the welfare of the animals. And I'd like to recognize Tommy, the director out there, for finally getting the exercise area fixed, where they can take the animals outside and exercise. And that sat there for a long time and couldn't be used because of some nitpicking regulation. I forget which 2 or 3 it was, but he took the initiative to get that addressed, and so now there's a big area that the animals can go outside and walk around and get exercise. So that's my thoughts as far as the animal shelter goes.
I guess I'll close it. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, that's
Okay. First of all, welcome everybody here. Appreciate hearing the comments from the public speakers. I also kind of wanted to address the animal control issues or the complaints just a little bit, in that Commissioner Keith and I guess I'll say, we've been on the board almost 2 years. December will be 2 years. We're on our third animal control director that we've been working with in 2 years. And I'm not gonna get into the personalities of, because you hear a lot of comments, this person was great, this person wasn't, or this person isn't. But one of the first things we did was we come on board, we heard from all the department directors, because they've never done reports here. Most departments haven't. Some under the state guidelines did. And of course, animal control was, when that report was given to us verbally, it was very, very understaffed, underfunded. They had outdated equipment, and not really, there just wasn't a lot of positive stuff that was left behind for the new director at that time that was already on board that when we come on. So some common denominators through these three department directors that we've had has always been lack of organization. And I think also what helped a little bit is under some previous stuff, like when Commissioner Morris was the county manager in 2015, they had, a couple incidences that were pretty embarrassing, and I know they took disciplinary action on that. But one of the things that come out of that is the animal control went under the sheriff's office, and it seemed to level it out a little bit. But then when Sheriff Marshall retired, and then shortly, like I say, after we come on board, we were told by the then county manager that, the Sheriff Lemons, he didn't want the animal control under him. So he was thrust back over here to the county manager, to try and find ways to solidify that department. The culture of animal control, and it's not just in Stokes County, it's that a lot of times people use them as a punching bag. And like the manager said, we made a mistake. I'm not saying it's a little mistake. It shouldn't happen that way. But under our system now, there's accountability, and there's training, retraining, there's discipline, and I've been assured that that's what has occurred. I mean, we have to follow, our personnel statute in North Carolina. There are just certain types of discipline that we can publicly talk about. So along those lines, I just want to real quickly, I want to go over, and this is on our computer. It's why we do reports. And this is the latest quarterly report in the second report that Tommy gave, I think it was last month. Here's some goals for 2024. Continue cleaning and organizing the shelter, finish renovating the play yard and reopen it, reorganizing the filing system, work on improving report taking and paperwork, have all staff certified on rabies and chemical capture, acquire a new reporting system for animal control and shelter, start writing a policy and procedure manual, and be fully staffed. And then one last thing, what he talks about is that I have set expectation for us to meet. I told the staff we're going to be professional, going to have knowledge of what we were doing, and going to be held accountable for our actions. The staff is meeting the expectations that I'm setting with some bumps along the way, but we are working through them and getting better as an organization. I don't have any problem with our animal control director. Now, if people have complaints and they can show that he's not doing the right thing or the staff is not doing the right, we got a procedure in place, and you need to file the complaint, and we'll certainly look at it and we'll take the action as necessary. But if we could, in an ideal situation, we've been so behind the eight ball with animal control is really the place just need to be shut down, and we contract out someone just to do animal control until we could have, did all of our policies, did all of our training, but we couldn't do it. And we're doing the best we can, and we do have high expectations, and I trust that our county manager will take that and make sure that on situations like this that it is thoroughly investigated and we do the right thing. But personal attacks, in my opinion, does not help the situation whatsoever. That's a stressful job, and it's a job in itself that's typically people look down upon, and that they become a dumping ground, when in reality, most of the people that work in animal control, they're not there to hurt animals. They're there to help animals and help people. So please, we're going to make mistakes. I mean, this is for all government. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to be held accountable. And we just got to look at what our training is and possible retraining. But it's not, we're on the right track. And probably one of the biggest things that's standing in the way right now is that shelter itself. Tommy's done a lot of great things in there, like getting a $25,000 grant and talking about what Commissioner Morris is talking about. But we have limited space. So if you have 8 cages and you have 8 dogs in there, and we take in another 2 or 3 dogs over the weekend, what are we supposed to do? Now we're going to build a new shelter. That'll be sometime in 2025. And that will help a lot too, because it's going to have more space. But again, we admit we were wrong. Action's been taken, and follow through will continue through to make sure that we do the best job that we can, especially with the limitations on the facilities that they have. But I personally, I want to make sure that staff out there knows that this board, I think I can speak for the board as a whole, we support animal control in this situation, and we'll continue to make things better. Thank you. That's all I have. All right, next up is the conflict of interest statement. Before moving further, does any board member have a conflict with any of the items on the agenda for today, or one that could be perceived as a conflict of interest?
Nope.
Next up is the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion for its approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next up is discussion agenda. First up is tax office agenda, and Richard Brim will present. Good afternoon, Richard.
Good afternoon. Like always, to start off with the collection status report, happy to report that the first month of the fiscal year 24-25 was a success. We collected for the general county a little over almost $1,030,000, and the bills had only been out a week, so that was really good. Look back at last year, we'd only collected $310,000, so we're off to a good start. Next item is our real and personal releases, less than $100. We have 33 accounts that total $1,760.62. Real and personal refunds less than $100. We have 7 tax bills that total $405.53. Releases more than $100. We have 12 accounts that total $6,478.56. And then the final item is real and personal refunds more than $100. It's 5 accounts that total $1,052.13. Next item, we have 4 late applications for elderly exemption. We have 3 late applications for the disabled veterans, and we have 3 late applications for present use value. And on Friday, we had a lady come in our office, and she was upset because she had a penalty where she listed her property, and we didn't have a abstract that showed she had listed her property. So in talking to her, we try to always make taxpayers aware of different programs that we have in place. In talking to her, we found out that she probably would qualify for the early exemption. So she done some quick calculations, and not going to tell how much money she receives each month, but it's not very much. And this is going to help her save about $250 a year, and that's a big deal to her. And I told her that the tax office can only accept those applications to June 1st. And I also told her that the state allows the board to look at those applications to the end of the year. And our board is always willing to help taxpayers when they can, because the statute allows the board to do that for good cause. So I just want to let the board know that people appreciate, she wanted to let the board know that she really appreciated any consideration. And I told her, I said, the board always approves those. So that's a big deal to her. And so we have a lot of folks that apply for that late, but you know, we try to tell everybody out there to apply for those, because you know, every little bit helps. So just want to say that. But I'm asking for the real and personal releases and refunds more than 100, and in all the late applications for veterans, early exemption, and present use value be moved to the September 9th consent agenda.
Any questions, comments for Richard?
Good job.
Good job.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next up is the needs-based public school capital fund grant application, and our manager will introduce.
I was contacted by Stokes County Schools with a plan to apply for the needs-based public school capital fund grant again this year for 2024. The grant application was attached to the agenda. If anybody needs a copy after, I can certainly do that. And the grant application is due September 13th this year, so it's on the agenda for consideration for the board.
This time I'll open discussion. Anyone want to start?
My question is see the superintendent and the maintenance director and the board chair sitting or standing in the back. Are they going to do a presentation and then we go into discussion, or are they not going to do a presentation? I know they did the presentation last year. Mm-hmm. I understand that. And I want to know, are they going to do another one now? Or are we going straight into discussion up here?
My assumption is that we would just go into discussion. I mean, they attach their updated grant application. There's just a few things in there. I think they improved it with some of the things they included, but it also had the basic stuff from last year. Unless there's unless there's a desire of the board to have a presentation.
Just asking.
I don't see the need for one. I mean, I think we pretty much had it last year. It's pretty much the same, but like you said, some things are a bit improved on it. So, I mean, I don't, as the discussion comes about, there might be questions for them. I'm glad they're here to answer questions, but I don't have to have a presentation.
I agree. I don't either. It's the same.
But if you want me to start the discussion, I will. Okay. So, as you know, I was in favor of the grant the last time, and I still am in favor of letting the school board apply for this grant. I think it's needed that any time you can get grant funding for a capital project like this, that you should try to go after it. It's funded through the lottery, and I think Stokes County deserves their fair share of that money. And this is one way for us to try to get some of the money that should come to us anyway from the lottery, because I think smaller counties are penalized when it comes to lottery funding. I think that even if you look back to when we had our strategic planning and capital project meeting with Doug Carter. I know I had a chance to talk to him about grant funding, and he said that anytime that we could get a grant, we should go after it and try to use all those opportunities. That's free money, basically. And you don't get those kinds of opportunities very often. I wish when I was a school board member we would have had chances to get this kind of money to build a school. It would have been a game changer for sure. The only thing I will say is that if you talk about a consolidation plan and what could be done as far as school consolidation goes in the future, I think you're going to have to build 2 elementary schools. And I think that I would personally be in favor of us going ahead and trying to plan for that second. If you can get this grant to pay for this elementary school, then we should go ahead and try to plan for the second one. And I think they talked about the northeast area, Sandy Ridge, Walnut Cove. We know that area is going to grow. It's growing now. And if we had this school replaced and we could get a new school in that area, I think it would, correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd be good elementary-wise for 15 or 20 years at least, and it would save the county a lot of money down the road of fixing some of these older buildings and things. I think it's something we should talk about and consider, is not just getting the grant money for this one, but then going ahead and trying to plan for the second one really quickly. So I'll let somebody else talk. I'll look at my notes. I might have something else.
Mr. Morris? Okay, I got a statement I'll read right quick, and it won't take too long. I'll give you my bottom line up front. My position has not changed since the last August on this grant application, primarily because nothing has changed from the school board on providing the commissioners a satisfactory school consolidation plan. Our simple request for a professionally done school consolidation plan was blown off by the school board, so I will not support the grant application. I think the path forward for the schools is even more confused and uncertain now than it was last year. By the way of history, my involvement in this situation started with a conversation with Dr. Rice several years ago, where I asked a simple question: how many students do we have to lose before we start to cut costs and save money, taxpayer dollars, for funding the school system? And he gave me a credible answer at that time with whatever the numbers were, that there's still certain fixed costs remaining and so forth, that it would require it to stay near the same level for some period of time. But eventually we knew it was all coming, that we were going to have to do something as the numbers continued to decrease. A major point in the discussion with Dr. Rice was that when consolidation did come, the consolidation plan must be created by an outside group of experts to ensure the final product was perceived to be fair and objective by the public, because the consolidation process, by definition, would be very disruptive to all communities in the county. And I think he agreed with me at the time. If he didn't, he can tell you. He's sitting out here. So, as memory serves me. As student populations continued to decline, serious discussions started on school consolidation, and the school board took the correct approach and hired Mason Borough, who had decades of experience, to perform analysis and develop a consolidation plan. When the plan was delivered, it was rejected outright by the school board, instead of continuing with Mason Borough to tweak the plan and arrive at a solution acceptable to all key stakeholders. This is where, in my opinion, the process went off the tracks. The result was thousands of dollars wasted on the study and a homegrown development of a long-range plan, which was not a consolidation plan. The long-range plan provided just what we needed to avoid, a plan that is perceived by many as political and biased toward favoring the southwest part of the county. So far, cost savings almost non-existent under the long-range plan, and the need for cost savings is the whole reason the consolidation discussion started. If you tell almost anyone that we have 17 schools and about 5,000 students, they will immediately respond that you need to consolidate to save money. The large number of schools in Stokes County results from the long-time existence of community-based schools, which works fine when the student population numbers support this approach financially. When the financials no longer work because of student population reductions, it seems to me the only logical solution is to move to a regional or district school model that consolidates the large number of community schools into a reduced number of schools that matches the student population numbers. This grant application does not support any consolidation. It just builds back a community school at the same location and consolidates nothing. The inadequacy of the long-range plan presents other serious issues. The commissioners are embarking on a long-range strategic plan for the county to address all the needs of the county and to determine the timing of the expenditures to meet those needs. How those needs are prioritized will be of major interest to stakeholders and residents of the county. A plan like the Masonboro report that addressed the financial aspects of consolidation in an effective manner would have been easy to integrate into the county's strategic plan. The long-range plan is just the opposite. As it is just a big spending request that increases taxpayer costs instead of reducing them. It is also incomplete on numerous issues associated with consolidation. An example, what are the plans for schools that are closed, such as Pine Hall Elementary, that continue to require significant funding even when they are sitting empty? Another example is a study the county funded from Peterson Gordon Architects that outlined $90 million of needs for the schools. Where's the coordinated plan of what will be spent on the schools that were discussed in that report? And how much will be spent on schools that could end up closed soon after the money is spent on them? In summary, I would just warn everyone that this disjointed approach to consolidation that's being executed by amateur consolidators instead of qualified professionals could easily result in significant property tax increases in the future. Along those lines, at our next commissioner meeting, I would like to get a clear explanation from a county manager of where the funding will come from for the grant match, along with the projection of any property tax increase that might be needed to ensure the county can provide the full amount of the grant match. I'll stop at this point, but we'll likely have additional comments on this grant request at our next commissioner meeting when it's on the action agenda. I would add one thing. Our financial advisor, Mr. Carter, who was referenced earlier, also during that same discussion said he wouldn't provide matching funds without a plan. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else?
I'll say let Keith go.
I'll go. First of all, when I was wrong, I'm wrong. And the school board can put the school wherever they want to, based on a case, planners versus Wake County Board of Education in 1975. Look it up, Ty. So we have no input, even though I think the putting of the school back in King is absolutely stupid because of congestion. But it's y'all's game. I do want a strategic 5-year plan. I've asked from day one. I don't think anything long range past that, you're just peeing in the wind because your numbers are not going to be that accurate. That way you can adjust it every 5 years without having an extra work session. Also, the other thing that I have done, I have took numerous, well, not 3, Zoom meetings with North Carolina Commission Association, 6-hour. Actually, they tricked me into presenting our problem, and the comments were interested from numerous experts in the state. One comment really bothered me. One guy says, oh, come on, you're never going to get along with the Board of Education. nowhere in the state. And I'm thinking, is that helping our kids at all? If we can't get along? It still bothers me, and you can ask Rick. I corrected him the last joint meeting we had. He made the comment, we're separated by a mountain. And I said, don't ever say that again. We are joined by a mountain. I've been here for 73 years. I have sent 4 kids to school. I've got 8 kids. I'm going to be honest, I got 3 that's been homeschooled. And they have been in North Stokes, South Stokes, Pinnacle, Chestnut Grove. So I've lived on both sides of the counties. Until we get off our ass and work together, nothing is going to get resolved. And I am voting for this for 2 reasons. Kids and the teachers. Do not come up and thank me later, because I'm not doing it for you. That's all I got to say.
Commissioner Mendenhall?
Thank you. I certainly I'll try to keep this short today. I voted for it in the previous meeting, and I'm still supporting it. I would say this. I have gone throughout the county since we had the meeting last year. And I've gone to people that I was principal of that are now in their 20s and 30s. And basically what I'm hearing is what I was hoping to hear. It didn't come from everybody, but you're not going to get 100% from everyone. That's an impossibility. But I will say this. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I think everybody in the room knows that I worked for the school system 36 years. I was superintendent of the school system for 4 years and 6 months. I worked on the southern side of the county between 17 and 18 years. I worked on the northern side of the county. I was principal of 3 schools on the northern end. I was principal at Sandy Ridge. I was principal at Nancy Reynolds, and I was principal at North Stokes High School for my last 7 years before I became superintendent. So I was actually a principal for 12 and a half years before I became superintendent. When you become superintendent, you then begin to work with the entire county, not just one part. When I was principal at North Stokes High School, I fought for North Stokes High School. Principal at Sandy Ridge, I fought for Sandy Ridge. Principal at Nancy Reynolds, I fought for Nancy Reynolds. My 17 or 18 years at Southeastern and South Stokes High School, I did an interim at South Stokes High School, and then I did 17 full years at Southeastern. And then when I became superintendent, of course, I worked with all the schools, all over the county. Because once you take on superintendent, in my opinion, you've got to work for every school in the county. You don't pick out, I'm going to help this school more than I'm going to help this school. And that's the approach I took. And after 36 years in this county of education, I can honestly say and look anybody in the eye now that participated and worked in every part of the county and the schools. And I would battle, like I said, when I think Commissioner Cox was on the Board of Education, when I was principal of North Stokes, were you not, Ms. Cox?
Yep.
And I fought for North Stokes at that time. I was at Sandy Ridge, I fought hard for Sandy Ridge. Southeastern, I mean, what position do you not want me to name I've done? I've been a teacher, I've been a guidance counselor, been an assistant principal, I've been a principal, been a superintendent. And I was the superintendent when we did the motto Students First. I had a chance, I'm not going to keep much longer, but I had a chance when I got out of the high school at South Stokes High School. My dad was working at R.J. Reynolds. Graduated on a Saturday at South Stokes High School, and Mr. Browder, our attorney, was a teacher at South Stokes when I graduated. Were you not, Mr. Browder? Yes. So you can see I got a lot of connections of people that have been with me, but on that Monday, after I graduated in 1974, my dad took me to R.J. Reynolds and took me to a supervisor, and I was offered a job at R.J. Reynolds that day. And back then, R.J. Reynolds was the company to work for. If you're from Stokes County and you worked at R.J. Reynolds, you had a good job. However, I had one thing in my mind, and that was I wanted to work with kids. I wanted to work with students. I wanted to have an influence on their lives. I wanted them to be able to come back to me, whether it was from North Stokes or Southeastern or King or wherever, and say, Mr. Mendenhall, you impacted my life. Because to me, that was more important than making more money, which I could have at Reynolds. I don't know if my dad's in heaven now. I don't know if he ever thought I made a mistake not going to Reynolds, but I know in my heart that I helped many students' lives during those 36 years. So I am looking at this for the students. For the students. And the situation would not change if it had been Pine Hall, or if it had been a situation, you know, we did an addition at Lawsonville when I was superintendent. We did an addition at Southeastern right on the highway. We built a new school at Poplar Springs. We did three building projects, 2 additions, and a brand new school. We searched every way we could to get the best pricing. We went and got QZAB and QSCAP, which helped us out. But my vote is not for a certain part of the county. I not only thought I was representing the whole county as superintendent, I think I'm representing the whole county as county commissioner. Now, I did not run for re-election this time after 8 years on the board because I have a mother getting ready to turn 92, and I do not know how much longer I'm going to have her, and I'm going to be with her. Because when my dad passed, I was the superintendent, and I had to rush to my house to see him before he passed away. My vote has always been student-oriented. I will not change my vote. I will stay with where I'm at. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You know, last budget cycle, you know, when we were going over the same grant application, and I mean, I voted no. And I thought there were a lot of variables, and I think at times, you know, it got kind of hectic. I think times it got personal. The bottom line is, you know, I think everybody in Stokes County, every kid deserves the same type of education opportunity. The one thing that sticks out, that has been sticking out in Stokes County long before I got here, and that's we got too many schools. And mainly, I think it's too many elementary schools. So, as we're coming into this cycle, new budget year, and the application is in front of us again, there has been some improvements on it. I was happy to see that. It did kind of tie some things together. I want to go on a leap of faith with the Board of Education and Dr. Rice that we, as a county, together, to where, you know, the Board of Education, they pick where the schools go, they pick what schools they consolidate. The Board of Commissioners, we do the funding. And I'm going to take a leap of faith, because I don't want to play politics with King Elementary or any elementary school or high school or middle school here in Stokes County. When I took that tour last year of King Elementary, and like I said then, I'd have shut that school down that year. It'd have been the end of the year. This year, the kids would have been sent somewhere else. But that wasn't feasible. You know, we talked with Dr. Rice, and then, of course, the Board of Education. That's their call. But I'm pointing that out again because how horrible of a condition those kids are going in. And I'm not going to play politics. You know, when we were bantering back and forth about last year, one thing was very obvious is, you know, the Board of Commissioners, we could tie up the funding forever, at least as long as, you know, we had the votes. We could tie it up unless the Board of Education did what we wanted them to do. And then the Board of Education is saying, well, that's fine, but then nothing's going to change. Those kids will stay at King Elementary for what I think is either 6 or 7 years, if I remember right, till the loan. We had a school loan that we'd paid off. Then it would free up money, and then, even then, the Board of Education picks where the school goes. So instead of us butting heads and not accomplishing anything, I'm going to vote for this grant application. But again, I want to stress that it's a leap of faith, that I'm counting on the Board of Education to look after the whole county and not take for granted where it's just, I truly believe that there's nobody sitting on that Board of Education that does not have the best interest of all the kids at heart. And it's just like I feel the same way on the Board of Commissioners. I think we all feel the same way. about the kids. And then the one thing that I want to ask or that I want to state is that my understanding is that we want to get away from having the combo grade classes. And so I want to make sure that as a county, from the Board of Education to the Board of Commissioners, that we start giving our kids, all of them, access to the same high performance standards and education that is given in certain parts of the county too. And I know it's going to be difficult because some people do not want to give up the past and the history. And I understand that. But the sooner we put our heads together as the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners and start looking at what we can do to improve the academic and also the vocational, because not everybody needs to go to college. I think we all know that. Last thing I'm going to say, I'm just going to repeat something. I'm taking a leap of faith with Dr. Rice and the school board that we will work together to make sure that we do what's best for the whole county and no one gets left behind. And that's all I have. Anybody else have any other comments?
I want to make one comment about the study we saw in Winston-Salem that Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Y'all got a job that you're not going to like. The numbers from Miss Dr. Johnson from UNC on Saturday morning at the commissioners convention in Winston-Salem were scary. The number of elderly in this state is huge. The number of 16-year-olds and down is not huge and is declining. So your numbers are going to continue to go down. Now, how you do your juggling that, I'm waiting to look and observe because I'll be happy. I got a copy of his presentation. I'll be happy to share it. I'll even be happy to discuss with some of the stuff he said, but it was scary. That's all I got.
Any other last minute comments?
I've got one thing. I just throw this out there about going ahead and moving this to action, since sounds like everybody kind of knows where they stand, because the next meeting, if I'm not mistaken, y'all meet the same night we do. So if there were to be questions or anything, the school board would not be here and Dr. Rice would not be here because we have meetings at the same time on the 9th.
Well, the only thing that I would remind you of, because you all reminded me of it in the budget, this last budget cycle, that apparently it's the policy of the Board of Commissioners that on afternoon sessions, when we do discussion, it's a controversial subject. We don't take action on the afternoon session. We take action on the next night, which would be September 9th. And that's what we did when I was on the other side. So I think either it's a policy or it's not. So I would say we follow policy.
It's probably more of a practice, a best practice maybe. I don't think it's in policy. But,
I'm for not moving it to today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't think
it only got hit the agenda Friday or Saturday, and people need a couple weeks to absorb it. We might have some folks that want to come talk next time or whatever.
that's fine, whatever. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, we can take a vote if you want to make a motion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I mean, if it's not unanimous, I think, I'm fine with waiting. I don't foresee there to be anybody changing their mind between now and then. So,
Well, I assure you,
pleasure of the board.
I assure you, there'll be no. Hear my words. There'll be no glitch or anything of whatever the decision is of the board. you not getting the opportunity to submit that grant won't be because of a deadline that you won't be able to make.
Because it's the 13th, so we meet
Right.
on the 9th. Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you for giving me just a moment. I appreciate the conversation, and I respect everybody's opinion on the board. We know that, as was said, 100% agreement is hardly ever there, but I do want to address one thing that was said about the combo classes. And while we are not where we would love to be, for the last 6 or 8 years, we've averaged between 12 and 16 combo classes a year. As a result of the long-range planning that we've done, we are down to 4 at this time. Now, we may have to add one more because we've got a weird number at one school, but right now there are 2 in the West District, 2 in the South District, and we may add 1 in the North. So we have greatly reduced those throughout the county, and we may have to add 1, but eliminated them in the North due to consolidation and the long-range planning. So I did want to address that and say that this has been a very painful process, but knowing that we are doing right by kids and reducing those greatly has been a wonderful thing. So thank you.
All right, we'll move on to next on the discussion agenda is accepting a resolution for Danbury Meadows Water Project funding, and Public Works Director Stuart Easter will present. Hey, Stuart.
Good afternoon. How are y'all? This will be short, pretty much just another resolution for the board to accept the $5,208,600 for the state revolving grant for the Meadows Water Project. It's pretty simple on that part.
Need action today.
If y'all would like, that would be good. Be fine.
And a consensus to move, is it, I mean, it's not controversial, right?
No.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, pretty simple. You know, it's,
We can make it
I just want to pull the sheet back and, and then
no surprises.
be surprised.
No surprises.
Okay, you got that, Amber?
Yes.
Right.
Is not any questions or comments? Thank you.
I think I got one more.
You got one more?
Next.
Water vault. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
No, just for you to look at, because it wasn't on the,
Oh, okay.
the attachment.
Oh, this is the attachment that wasn't on the agenda. Okay.
I just got it to the screen.
Yeah, we just received this purchase agreement and we wanted to get it on here today so we can move forward with this.
That way you can look at it.
I got you.
And this is for this is for the water project too.
But it's the actual agreement.
Yeah.
It wasn't attached.
For item D.
For
Item D.
what we're on right now. What's a water vault? It just holds water?
We have some pressure regulators inside the vault.
Okay. Never heard of it.
No, well,
No, actually, I'm not. You need this moved to action too?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm fine with moving this to action as well.
All right. Got it, Amber?
Questions?
Are you done?
None. No questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is offer for surplus tax foreclosed property. I believe that's Glenda's.
We received an offer to purchase the last piece of foreclosed property that we have on the website. This is a very small piece. It's actually, I attached a map. It is very useless to sit for the person who actually bid. It was an adjoining property owner. So he made an offer of $375. I talked to Richard. That was the offer that we had on the website that we would accept. He said he thought that was fair for what it was. So I just need the board's consensus to be able to start the upset bid process, running it in the newspaper and posting it on the website. So if you all are okay with this offer, I'll start the procedures and then come back to you all once that 10-day window's closed.
We got a consensus? Anybody against it?
Okay, thank you. I'll start the process.
All right. Next up is rules of procedure amendment regarding remote participation with the Board of Commissioners, and Amber will present.
So a recent court case decision, which was State of North Carolina v. Anson County, it was made by the Court of Appeals, and it was in reference to remote participation by governing boards at the local level. And the outcome prompted a blog post, which has kind of floated around to a lot of the local governments in North Carolina, which I'm glad it did because it brought it to my attention that we need to update our rules of procedure for the Board of Commissioners and how we govern meetings. Because currently, the language states that you can participate remotely and be counted as part of the quorum and vote remotely as well through remote participation. And we need to change it basically to say that you have to have physical presence to be a part of the quorum and to vote based off of what the court case language outcome was. And I ran it by the attorney's office, and they agreed that we needed to make that change just to make sure that there wasn't any question about the legality of votes. If we voted on something controversial, for example, that nobody could question the legality and whether there was a quorum in place and what that vote was. And the only change is one of the Ty brought it to my attention that on subsection D on the sheet that says the proposed changes to the rules of procedure, subsection D, instead of saying they may participate, it needs to say a remote member may participate, and then also say that they may participate in the meeting and engage in discussion, but shall be excused from the vote on any matter considered by the board, instead of what it currently says. The only change from the agenda.
Any questions or comments?
Cut and dry.
Do we need to do anything? Do we have to?
Yeah, just take
move it to action?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you whether you want to do it tonight. It'd probably be best to do it tonight, just so that way any future votes aren't in question.
Yeah, put it for action.
All right.
Thank you.
Next is the accountability and recovery court. It's the job description that was posted in our.
Pretty an extensive job description. I hope they can find somebody qualified to do that. It's a lot. I think it's, I'm still in favor of it. Did we find out if we could use opioid money to pay for it?
Other counties have used some of their opioid money for it. I don't know if it could pay for it in full or not, but that's something I would need to talk to the opioid coordinator about. But I think we could at least use part of the opioid money for it, even if not all of it.
Okay, I thought we probably could, because we had talked about in our steering committee about this as an option, and talked about other counties utilizing this, and it's I think it's the direction a lot of counties are going to try to do something with these people that are in recovery and in mental health and everything, playing such a big role in it. And I think it's a step in the right direction. I think hopefully it could impact the problem and help the families. I mean, sometimes they just need to know somebody's in their court and somebody's there to help them figure it out, because I can tell you when they're having this disorder with substance use, and they just don't think clearly and they can't process the information to, they honestly do need somebody holding their hand, walking them through it, and that's what this seems to be. And if Surrey's going to do it, I would hope that we could do it as well.
And I will just note that if this does get approved, I'll meet with the opioid coordinator as soon as I can tomorrow or Wednesday. And
So we can or not use it?
From my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can. But what I'm saying is we're going to have to amend the resolution.
You have to make a new resolution.
Yeah. Or just amend the current one to add it on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has that got Ty approval?
I haven't looked at it.
At least you're honest.
I think that's a no.
Jennifer looked at it at the last meeting, and she also was in the understanding that we could use opioid settlement money for it. But I can,
Look at the MOE funding too.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. But the only problem is it's already spoken for this year.
For this year, I'm talking
Yeah.
about future years.
Yeah, we can certainly look at that.
That makes it easier.
If you could put it, we could put the funding at least this year, and then maybe the MOE, we could see about divvying it up or something for future years. And that'd give us a year to see how it's gonna play out. 'Cause you're gonna have to have the right fit, the right person to make it work, for sure. I feel like the judges would make sure of that. They don't want it to fail. Do you wanna move it to action, or?
I'm okay with it. I am. I'm fine with it.
Not controversial.
Right.
So next up, first on the action agenda is the JCPC appointment request. The last meeting, Corey Hutchins, Lincoln Bennett, and Seth Tyndall were nominated to serve on the JCPC. No further applications have been received. And we just polled the board.
Yes, please.
Hutchins, Bennett, and Tyndall.
Hutchins, Bennett, Tyndall.
Hutchins, Bennett, and Tyndall.
Hutchins, Bennett, Tyndall.
Hutchins, Bennett, and Tyndall.
So what was the next thing on that action we added?
The accepting resolution for the Danbury Meadows Water Project funding.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Right. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The water vault purchase agreement for the Meadows Water Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Then the rules of procedure amendment for remote participation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Is that it?
And then the accountability and recovery court, the coordinator job.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Can you read the rationale for closed session?
To consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3, and to consider the initial employment or appointment of an individual to any office or position other than a vacancy in the Board of County Commissioners or any other public body, or to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, and fitness of any public officer or employee other than a member of the Board of Commissioners or of some other public body pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A6.
Motion we enter closed session.
I guess second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're going to closed section. We're going to take a 10-minute Back on? All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion